when you really want things to happen, you have to create it as a possibility. You have to find the way to make it easy for you. You have to create the easy. If we go right back to basics, the idea of something being easier or harder than something else is a completely man-made concept. There is no easier or harder, there just is. And then we add in something subjective which tells us like, actually this way is easier and this way is harder. I love to use nature as an example. It's not harder for a lion to chase a gazelle than it is to it to go and, eat some bugs or something. It's easier because it knows that the nourishment it's going to get from catching a gazelle is far greater than if it just goes and eats some bugs. Although it seems like a bit more of an effort, it's something that we would probably complain about or find excuses to keep putting off. The lion actually needs to do it for survival, right? So it doesn't question whether this is easier or that's harder, it just is. So what's up? Welcome to my channel. My name's Alex, I'm a coach, and this podcast is all about self-development and helping you to live a happier and more fulfilling life. So on this week's In Focus session, we're going to be talking about how you can create the easy in your life. And this is something for if you're listening to this and you're finding certain things hard, or you find yourself keep making excuses to not do things, or you keep putting stuff off, procrastinating, all stuff that I do very regularly, by the way. This is an episode for you to help you create the easy in what it is that you want to do, the results that you want to see, or the thing that you want to change, etc. And this is something that I've really been playing with a lot recently. It's really funny because I'm someone who, it's like, if something seems hard, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. I want to put it to later. Let me live a little bit, and then it will happen when it happens, kind of thing. But what I've noticed is that when you really want things to happen, you have to create it as a possibility. You have to find the way to make it easy for you. You have to create the easy. And what I mean by that, right, is if we go right back to basics, the idea of something being easier or harder than something else is a completely man-made concept, right? There is no easier or harder, there just is. And then we add in something subjective which tells us like, actually this way is easier and this way is harder. An example being, I love to use nature as an example, right? It's not harder for a lion to chase a gazelle through the savannah to try and find its meal than it is to it to go and, eat some bugs or something. It's easier because it knows that the nourishment it's going to get from catching a gazelle is far greater than if it just goes and eats some bugs. So although it seems like a bit more of an effort, it's longer winded, it's something that's, we would probably complain about or find excuses to keep putting off. The lion actually needs to do it for survival, right? So it doesn't question whether this is easier or that's harder, it just is. And it gets done, right? There's no, this is long, I can't be bothered. There's none of that. It just gets done because it kind of has to in a way, right? Now, we're not necessarily in a survival, arena like the wildlife are, and like most animals are in nature, right? We have a lot of luxuries in our lives. Okay, we take that for granted, right? However, there's still something that we can see in this idea of creating the easy, right? Because if we look at it from the purely neutral perspective, if we're looking at it from a purely neutral perspective, there is no easy, there is no hard. The idea of easy, the idea of hard are just things that we have made up. We've made up the idea of what it means to us for something to be hard and what it means to us for something to be easy. And I'll give you a little example, right? I remember, so this has just happened recently actually. So since the start of this year, I've been going to the gym quite regularly. And I was signed up to a gym which was like a 5-minute drive from my house. I would get up in the morning, I'd get my gym gear on, I would jump in the car, drive to the gym, be there in 5 minutes, do my workout, cool down, jump back in the car, come home, breakfast, shower, and start my day, right? That was really easy for me, okay? Now, that was easy, but before it was easy, it was hard. Because I used to find it really hard to set my alarm at like 6:30 in the morning, get out of bed at like 10 to 7 o'clock to get to the gym for 7:30. It seemed ridiculously hard for me. Like going back to when I was working full time, when I first started going to the gym in the morning, it was easier for me to go to the gym in the afternoon and go to the classes until it wasn't. And it stopped becoming easier because after work I was tired. I didn't want to go to the gym. So I started to look at my day and I was like, okay, well, if going to the gym in the evening's hard for me, and if going after work's hard for me, what can I do instead? And it looked obvious to me that actually, let me try and go in the morning and see if that works. So I tried it. I said, right, I'm going to get to the gym at 7, and I'm going to, at the time I was jogging to the gym because it was a different gym, different place. And let me try it. I did it for a couple of weeks, and it actually became the easier option for me. Although on paper it looks hard, right? You've got to set your alarm at 6:15. You've got to get up at quarter, get up and be ready to leave at like 10 to 7. Jog to the gym, 10 minutes, get to the gym for 7, do your workout, come home, shower, breakfast, then get the tube to work and be in work for 10. That on paper looks really hard. But actually it was harder for me to go to work go to the gym, after work, because I was tired and sometimes I didn't feel like it, or I had like a work commitment after work or a social commitment or something like that. And my routine was becoming very wishy-washy, right? It wasn't very consistent. It actually became easier for me to do what on paper looked like the hard option, which was getting up earlier in the morning, getting to the gym for 7, etc., etc. Now, fast forward a few more years, right, to just a few months ago. Like I said, been working out quite consistently this year, since the start of the year, after a couple of years of being on and off of it because of lockdowns and blah, blah, blah. But I was really consistent with it. Driving to the gym, 5 minutes in the morning, get there, do my workout, come home. It was done. It was perfect, right? It was lovely. And then I decided at some point during the year that I wanted to commit to getting 10,000 steps in every day. So 10,000 steps every day, by the way, is about an hour and a half of walking. So for me to find the time and the space to walk for an hour and a half, it means that I have to, either go out for an hour and a half walk or do an hour walk, half an hour walk, 3 hour, half an hour walks, wherever it was. And I started to look at it and I was thinking, right, actually, maybe I can start using my gym as an opportunity to get some steps in. I can maybe start walking to the gym. So I looked into it and my gym was a little bit too far away. It was like a 45-minute, 50-minute walk. I was like, okay, that's a bit out of the question. It's a bit extreme. Let's not do that. So I carried on driving. And then one day I had a bit of an idea, an inspired idea, should we call it. There's a gym that's closer to my house, walking distance to my house actually, and is just up the road for me. So I looked into it, I Google mapped it, it's 20-minute walk there, 20-minute walk back. Okay, cool, lovely. So I inquired about the gym, membership was roughly the same price, cancelled one membership, joined the new gym, and started committing to walking to the gym 3 times a week when I go, in the morning, on the way there and on the way back, 20 minutes each way, as I said. Now, again, on paper, that looks harder. It looks harder for me to get up a little bit earlier so I can walk 20 minutes to the gym, do my workout, and then walk 20 minutes back. Then getting up, driving 5 minutes to the gym, do my workout, driving 5 minutes back. On paper, it looks harder, right? But I created it as an easier option for me. And what I mean by created it as an easier option for me is that I became more committed to it because it tied into something more for me. And that more was getting in the steps. Now, this is just 2 examples revolving around the gym, right? It doesn't have to be anything like that for you. I want you to listen to this episode about as if like, what is the area of your life where you're finding something hard or you're making an excuse for something hard where actually you could create it as easy. I'll give you another example. This is something that I just really slack with, right? So next to my desk right here, I've got a box which says, I'll read it to you. It says Total Italian Learning CDs, right? You guys know my family's all Italian. I can understand the language, can't really speak it too well. So one of the things that I've always said I want to commit to is learning Italian. At the minute, I'm finding it really hard, not because it's hard for me to learn or to try and speak the language, because when I know that I've done that, it's actually a bit easier for me to pick up because I already have a foundation. What is hard for me is committing the time. I can't find the time in my diary. I can't commit to, doing my listening CDs 2-3 times a week. I can't be bothered to sign up for a school or online teaching or something like that. So on paper, it looks hard for me to learn Italian. So I've convinced myself that it's hard. It's hard for me to learn Italian because I have to find all this time and I have to put in all this work and I have to do all of this stuff. Whereas actually, I could create it as easy. I could create it as something that's easy for me by just it takes 20 minutes to listen to one of the CDs. I could do that 3 times a week, no problem. It's 20 minutes in the evening. I could even do it in the morning, actually on the walk to the gym. There you go. You know, I could fit it into something which has become to make it easier for me. I can create the space for it to become easy. Now, we'll see if I do that or not. I'll come back to you on that. But another example, right, is many years ago, before I got into reading, I used to find it really hard to sit and read books. Didn't matter what the book was. It didn't matter how long it was. It didn't matter if it was, you know, fantasy or fiction or non-fiction or self-development or spirituality or whatever, biography, whatever. I found it really hard to read the book. And purely because I found it boring to sit at home and just read. So in my mind at the time, and this is going way back now, this is going back like maybe 8 years, 9 years. At the time, I was like, I want to get into reading, but I haven't got the time to do it. How can I do it? So I started to think, well, actually, I would get the tube every day into work, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back, there or thereabouts, sometimes 45, sometimes 50 minutes, depending on delays. We won't go there, but you get what I'm saying, right? So I've decided, right, well, what if I just sat and read on the tube for the journey? Instead of flicking through my phone, instead of like listening to music and not really doing anything or reading the paper, how about I read a book instead? And all of a sudden, something that looked hard to me on paper became easy. And a standard sort of 200-page book, I would generally finish in about 2 weeks. And that's someone who didn't read books from probably about the age of 10 to the age of 25. Like, it's a long time convincing myself it was hard, but I created the easy in my life. So again, that's just another couple of options, right? Examples rather. So for you, what is the thing that's happening in your life that on paper looks hard for you? How can you create that into something easy? Because if we're going back to what I was saying at the start, the idea of easy, the idea of hard is a man-made concept. It's entirely constructed by us, the idea of easy and the idea of hard. Then anything can be created as something easy as much as it's created as something hard in our minds. We just need to look at it from a different perspective or find a way to make it easy. I'll give you another example with the reading. I started to read not only on the tube, I started to read 20 minutes before I went to bed. I just tagged it onto something that I was doing anyway, and it became easy. Now, there's a lot of data and there's a lot of research to suggest if you want to create a new habit or a new thing, tag it onto something that you're already doing. Like, for me, for example, the reading, tagged it onto my tube journey or tagged it onto my reading before I go to bed or whatever. That can help, right? I don't want to take that away from anything, but first of all, you have to have enough of a commitment and a want to do something. And the commitment to doing anything helps you create it as easy. My commitment to want to get in my 10,000 steps every day has helped me to create the option where I walk to the gym in the morning. Now, I'm actually about to move again, and I've looked up a new gym, and it's actually a 40-minute walk from my flat. So I'm already considering that could be a good way to get my steps in every day. Now, if I went back 6 months, walking 40 minutes to the gym and walking 40 minutes back was like a complete no-go with my old gym. Remember I said earlier? It was a no-go. I signed up for a gym closer to my house. But now, because I've created that easier, in inverted commas, easier for me with the walk into the gym, a 40-minute walk doesn't seem so daunting. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually seriously considering it. I'm going to sign up for this gym, walk there 40 minutes, walk back. Lovely. Sounds great. Beautiful walk along the canal or whatever. It sounds great. And it's creating the easy in my head. And another way to look at the creating of easy, right, is like, what's the story that you're weaving around the thing that you want to do? Are you weaving a story that makes the input or the journey of it or the idea of it hard? Or are you weaving a story that creates the journey of it as easy or the idea of it as easy? That's entirely mind created. Now, like I said, what's the area of your life where this sounds relevant to you? Is it trying to learn something? Is it trying to get into a gym routine? Is it eating healthy? Is it being more committed to doing exercise, more committed to your relationship? Let yourself sit with that, right? And think about it. What's the thing that you keep putting off? Generally, there's something that in life we keep putting off. What's the thing that you keep putting off? Is it something that you really want to create for yourself in your life? If it is, Ask yourself, how am I creating the hard in this situation? And then on the the flip side, how can I create the easy in this situation? And what I would love to invite you to do is, whatever that thing is that's hard, that seems hard to you, that you keep putting off, message me on Instagram at I'm Alex Manzi. Let me know what it is, and I will happily help you to create the easy for yourself. I will share some things that have been helpful for me. I will, see if there's a way that together we can look at it to create it as an easy for you. I don't want anything for that. I just want your time and your willingness to send me that message. So if this episode has really hit that note on the head for you, and you're like, actually, yeah, I could create this as easy, but I'm not sure how, message me what that thing is. What's the thing that you're creating as hard that you'd like to create as easy, and let's see if we can create it as easy together. I don't want anything for it. There's no cost or anything like that involved. I'm just eager to help, because this has been very helpful for me. So that's my invitation for you to locate the thing in your life that looks hard on paper that you'd like to create as easy. Send me a message to I am Alex Manzi in my DMs. They're open, and let me know what that one thing is. So if you know someone who you think would really benefit from hearing this episode, then send them the link or the screenshot. Let them know how it could be helpful for them and why. I started this podcast because I wanted to inspire a positive change in people, and you could be a part of that by sharing this episode with someone who you know is going to benefit from this today. So I'd like to thank Michele Azzu for producing and editing this episode. I'd also like to thank Hobgoblin for providing the sick music that you hear. And as always, I want to thank you for spending the time with me today, and I'll see you for the next episode.